There we go. And soon the bopping. I feel like I'm Muppet.
Like a Muppet.
Hello and welcome to the HR Data Labs Brown Bag Lunch, sponsored by Salary.com, and now on the Work Defined Podcast Network. We are new on the podcast network of Work Defined. Thank you, Mr. William Tincup and company. And we are so excited today, Dwight, to have our guest. But before I get there, how is my best friend, partner in crime, co-host, Dwight Brown doing?
Dwight Brown is glad that it's the weekend.
It's not the weekend yet.
Almost.
Almost, yes. And let's introduce Ward Christman from HR Tech Alliances. Ward, how are you?
Fantastic. Not my favorite day of the week. Monday is, but
Monday is.
What?
yeah.
Monday
Okay,
is a
you're off the
Monday
program,
for
man.
Ward.
Sorry. That's it.
Goodbye.
Usually we talk about mic drop moments in other ways, but Ward,
Right.
you are a friendly weekday kind of guy then, I guess.
I'm an optimist, and Mondays feels like I can accomplish anything. Fridays, I'm like, what did I accomplish this week? I'm like, oh, it's that
Yeah, it's a good
rearview
point.
mirror. You're like, I could have done better. But that's, I'm an optimist, and
So see
like
it like
Mondays.
this, that you have 2 days to rest up so you can get back to it on Monday morning, fresh and ready to go.
yeah.
Ward, why don't you give people a little bit about your background?
My background, wow. Well, trained engineer, built plutonium factories and nuclear power plants, which
Really?
might be coming back into vogue. I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
Hopefully not in
definitely.
Iran, you didn't.
No, no.
Now that Iran knows that, though, Dwight,
Yeah, that's right. They don't know it.
they're gonna
Chattanooga and Aiken, South Carolina, to be more specific. But I got hooked on this thing called the internet in 1990 when I was an engineer, and IT showed me this thing. I'm like, what? That's pretty cool. And next thing you know, I'm like, you know what? I got to find a way to make something happen and use it, and got hooked on an HR tech play called Job Board.
there you go.
And yeah, it's been a wild ride. Over 30 years now, and just my fourth time founder. Now
Wow.
running an advisory company, advising HR tech vendor executives how to better go to market, co-market with partners, and form alliances and partnerships, and migrated that into more of a self-service model with the HR Tech Alliances platform, and really helping the vendors connect and collaborate so their common customers get better results. They get to keep those customers, and
Right.
hopefully, and
Yeah.
and then also, together they can find more customers to help those common customers be more successful. So that's our mission, and we've got a couple thousand members now. Not all our subscribers, I wish, but I'd have fancier, real bling. This is not real, but yeah,
It looks
now we're
real.
thankful for our members and sponsors to help the community do better of collaboration and supporting those very needy HR people, because they need us vendors.
Very.
Without us, I can't imagine. I just can't imagine.
I worked on the HR Open when it was HR XML
Oh my.
way back. Gosh, that might be maybe 15 years ago. And I helped define some of the compensation interchange XML. And that was a lot of fun. It was frustrating, but it was a lot of fun.
It's probably still in place. I know the groups. I just talked to one of our members last week, and he's on one of the committees, and they're still plugging away. It's a thankless job trying to get vendors to collaborate.
It was very
That's why we charge
Yeah.
for it. Like, hey.
It was hard to get people to come to even once a month
Yeah.
sessions to talk things over, but we got through it. I think we published two or three different structures, so we were happy.
That's good. No, there's a lot there now. And I went to 3 of their annual conferences, Denver, DC, and I think Toronto. And sometimes speaker, sometimes attendee or whatever. But it's a good group. And without standards, without that, you can't have vendor collaboration because everything's about the data.
Exactly.
You know,
And we're going to talk a lot about that today.
HR data labs, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, Ward, we ask everybody who joins the HR Data Labs Brown Bag Lunch, what's the last thing you did first time?
You know, I should have been prepared for that question because I've heard it because I listened faithfully to your. I must have been blocking out my mind. I'm like, what would that be? Last thing I did for the first time. Wow, last thing I did for the first time. I guess I'd like to say Vegas, go to Vegas, but no.
Really?
No,
You hadn't been
I'd
to
like
Vegas
to say
before?
that.
Come on, that's not possible.
I know that's just it. It's like we were just talking about that today. It's like how many conferences are there? It's like more and more. It's like crazy. But anyway, I guess, geez, I think, and I probably won't. This is the first time, hopefully the last time. Yeah, we got these little fans for our last event, and one of our sponsors was standing there. Across the room, and I was just unpacking them, and they fold up kind of.
Yeah.
I kind of tossed it out, and not everybody saw it. And of course, the person that wasn't looking, it just went boing, bounced off their face. Now, luckily, they don't really hurt, but it's like that's the first time I did that, and gonna be the last time. So.
Gonna be the last time, yeah.
Good. Well, let's transition quickly from that really embarrassing confession and go to our topic for today, which is vendor-to-vendor collaboration. And I guess my first question in this, Ward, is what are we talking about when we're talking about vendor-to-vendor collaboration, and how do we get vendors to work together?
Well, if you're a HR practitioner and you want your vendors to play nice with each other in the sandbox, it's not easy, but just hoping they'll do it on their own is not an answer.
Right.
But vendor-to-vendor collaboration in my book is where 2 or more vendors are jointly supporting a customer in their goals, objectives for HR, whether it be technology or service even.
Right.
And if they aren't collaborating, and the average company has, I think, Sapient Insight saying like at least 20 on average HR systems. Many have hundreds of them.
Right.
If there's no collaboration, there's no way HR is going to be able to make it work. It's not possible. So that's the mission, is really to support those common customers. And if you do it right and you do it well, they'll tell somebody that, hey, we've got a nice family here, so a village, it takes a village, and they'll win more business, which they want, and retain their customers. But if it's a bunch of the finger pointing stuff, the data didn't come over because of them, right?
Right.
And that doesn't work. So our mission, at least with HR Tech Alliances, is to help encourage collaboration across competitive lines, and certainly for those that they're formally partnering with, because it's both the data. If the data flows, the deals flow, and the customer happiness flows.
But it's beyond, and you mentioned this a little bit, but it's beyond data, right? It's coordination of services, it's coordination of implementations, it's being able to make sure that the right information is there, and that's not always a data issue, right?
Sadly, that's where often it blows up and becomes an issue, and then they realize that they weren't either connected right, or something broke, who broke, what broke, when, how do we avoid that from happening? It's, as you know, in the compensation side, if people don't get paid, or they're not getting paid what they're supposed to,
or they don't get their increase or their bonus,
whatever. Right. It's not a pretty sight, and often it could have been avoided, if it was known up front. A few years back, like 3 years ago, did a presentation for the conference board out of New York and their HR leadership council. And I did it in person just before COVID and then again online. And I said, let's do a quick survey of your members. And I asked them like how many systems they have in house. And some were over 100. And then some at the smallest, I think, was around 50. And these were larger companies that joined that group.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But the reality is, I asked them like, well, okay, do you have a formal list of what your tech stack is in HR tech? Forget about the other tech. And about 70, 80% said, yeah, we have a list, and then the question is, how often do you update it? Once a year? Never? And,
right.
And the results is getting worse. The thing that was really missing in my book from a vendor-to-vendor collaboration was that internally, outside of like the HRIT group or whatever group that you call it, knowing who's on this list and maybe when renewals are coming up and all that stuff and what are they paying these vendors. But those on the list, how many know that who else is on the list? So they know what sandbox they're in or what soup they're part of. And if something goes wrong, or they should, again, plan for disaster recovery or whatever. And almost none of them share it with the vendors.
Of course.
Until something blows up. It's like, oh, yeah, well, that assessment company or that comp data, input, resource. And then
like you say, a lot of this going on. Yeah.
We didn't know that. Why didn't you tell us? Well, we didn't need to know.
They kind of hold it off close to the vest, like it's confidential, like there's a state secret in there somewhere. When I think your point is that they could do a lot better being able to serve not only the people serving them, by enabling those people to look out for their best interests and talk about how they can implement better integrations, whether it's through XML, whether it's through, APIs, whether it's through better file feeds.
All the above, yeah.
Yeah, probably a lot of both, yeah.
Well, and that's part of it, right? Is having the ability to know when things are going south or predict it and fix it before it happens. Or, just do test runs, all these things that sound normal, but don't get done or don't get done regularly. And I don't know if it's going to get better or worse. I think AI is going to help with that. We had some great discussions last Sunday in the collaboration zone we were running as a pre-event to SHRM. And we had some Service Now, their chief innovation officer, and some CTOs from some of the companies, and even integration companies like Stack One was there. And that was the top. We want to know, well, how are we going, how's it going to change? How is it agentic AI? Is it going to help? And, we all are optimistic about it, but somebody's going to have to figure it out, because if it's done right, we can program bots, right, to be better watchdogs on our behalf.
Maybe.
Only call us if there's something, truly on fire, right? And if it's on fire, if you can put it out, just put it out. Let us know. And
then we're gonna have issues between the AI. Everybody's gonna have their own AI built in, and who trumps who?
Or digital fingers pointing at each other.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good idea for an app. Yeah, build it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's their fault. Whoa, wait a minute. Which way is that arrow pointing? And I think that's the problem that I have with this, Ward, is that it actually doesn't change anything just to automate it. I'll give you an example. You mentioned all those integrations that companies manage. Well, when I was the chief product owner of the Data Cloud, ADP Data Cloud, I was responsible for reporting and analytics. And a lot of companies used ad hoc reports as being their methodology for integration. So what an ad hoc report would do is it would run overnight, and then it would create a file and put it on a secure FTP site for the integration to subsume. What happens when that job fails? Nothing, because it's a stupid report. And so maybe there was a notification, maybe not. Whoever was supposed to see that notification didn't see it. Could that file have run during the day? Well, probably, but probably not, because it's on the production environment. It might cause the production environment to go down. So the problem isn't necessarily, it's what you were talking about before. It's the service plus the technology that needs to be viewed as important for things to actually continue to work.
Mhm.
Not just an agentic AI that goes like this. His fault.
Right.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch how that unfolds. But I truly believe in, and many feel the same way, that there's a lot of optimism around agentic AI helping just do that, because it does it so much faster than we can. Even if it's not better, it's faster. And the old, just because it's faster and cheaper doesn't mean it's better, right? But
Right.
Right.
in this case, I think if vendors are cautious and they work with some of the hopefully the standards out there to help make it easier, even for the bot to sort out, field mapping or whatever it
Right.
is,
Right.
it should really make all our lives better and get better results and allow us to fix things faster if needed. And then also prepare for things that we can't see around the corner for everything, but you don't want to learn what could go wrong by going wrong, right? So
Right.
Right.
run the simulations. There's flight simulators, all kinds of stuff when lives are on the line. Why not payroll and things like that, right?
Right.
Hmm.
So that's I think we'll see a lot more of that. And as more point solutions are going to certainly pop up, the build, buyer, partner scenario from the vendor side, it's going to continue to accelerate. And that's part of our mission, is to help vendors navigate that decision tree. And, the companies, they just want stuff to work. Right?
Yeah. Of course.
So
Do you have a lot of problems getting people to the table for this?
I wish I could say no, but I can't. When you say people, I guess, I mean, our primary audience is the vendor executives, right? We don't
Yep.
invite the HR practitioners to the table. There's plenty of places they can and should be. And that's
Hmm.
some of our partners are the conference groups and whatnot, that they want to bring the buyers in so they can talk to the sellers, but
Right.
there needs to be a safe haven for the vendors to talk about stuff they don't want the buyers to hear until it's
Right.
resolved. And yeah, no, I think there's I think the human pride aspect is a challenge for everyone, and for vendors to say, yeah, I can see that being a problem, or it might become a problem, or it's a problem we need to talk to each other about as a group, even our competitors. And we've had probably like 20 or 30 roundtable discussions specifically on co-opetition.
Exactly.
And one of my industry friends, Jeremy Ames, who's up your neck of the woods, I believe, he ran a couple system integrator companies and ended up selling to Accenture. Now he's kind of doing what he wants to do, which is more of that. But
Yeah.
I was just grabbing scrap paper, and one of the signs we had was co-opetition for one of our events. And that's, I think there's going to be more of that realization. I mean, even Workday has decided to realize that their partner ecosystem might be important to their customers, and whether it's
Right.
competing with them or not.
Well, they have lots of different cases where, like, they may have ADP do payroll while they're the HRIS, and SAP and ADP are partners as well, and
Yes.
even for a while UKG and ADP were partners. So even the most mortal enemies can actually be friendly and play in the sandbox nicely, as long as there's, to your point, revenue, and there are clients who require
That's it.
that kind of an integration.
And that goes back to your first question, is what can people do to get the vendors to play nice in the sandbox? And they need to put their foot down and say, look, you guys need to meet regularly, whether we want to be part of that if we can, but because we don't want, finger pointing later, or you're going to be out and somebody else is going to
Right.
be in.
Right.
They know that, but they just hope, oh, we'll be fine.
Well, it always goes back to like you mentioned, build buy or
Partner. Yeah.
partner. It always goes back to do I want to be everything to everyone all the time, or is there a different, better solution? And with the rise of marketplaces, with either Workday or ADP or some of the other big HCMs, doesn't that enable the working together, those marketplaces?
Not at all.
Really?
Not yet. Think of it as like shopping on Amazon. You can. HR people generally don't. The people ordering stuff through the marketplace, very low, very low.
Really?
It's not like a supermarket where people are going there to fill up a shopping cart. They go, they'll look, and then they'll call their sales rep or account manager or somebody and say, here's what we're thinking about. And they're like, oh, well, we have some partners that do that.
Right.
And somebody needs to help them navigate. It just comes down to that. Just because they're in the marketplace doesn't mean they're the right fit for them, for the industry they're in, geography, size. How many variables, right?
Oh, sure.
Right.
What can they afford to pay? Yeah, all these things. Marketplaces aren't there. Now, at least if nothing else, it should show at least, who's pre-certified as integrated or something.
Right.
So at least you don't have that shock at the end of a project. Like,
Right.
we now have to integrate with the data.
Yeah. Oh, wow. We
Yeah.
went through this entire sales process.
Right.
Rubber's hitting the road.
Everybody's there to sell their own product, and
And
That's
the
their
historical
main
data is
intent.
not coming over. It's not part of the project. All that
Right.
salary and comp data or whatever, right? Recruiting data is like,
yeah,
no. But don't worry, it won't cost a lot extra.
Yeah. Right.
a whole lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Built in.
yeah.
That's a problem. So to answer your question, Dwight, really, it's I think they're in the right direction, but even the numbers just for referrals are very low on a per partner basis. And having, what I'm starting to hear now, even from the bigger shops, they're realizing that more is not better.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about you, but my wife threatened to take me supermarket shopping tonight. So it's like walking down the aisle is like, I don't know what brand or, and she does, but I'm like, you don't want to rely on me. And the same thing with the HR people, right? They're like, well,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what background screen or, these guys dropped the ball. We've got to replace them. My boss says. And now they're like, they could make it worse, right? So it's like, somebody's got to help them. Well,
Yeah.
maybe the AI will maybe jump in, right, on the marketplaces.
Maybe.
That's what you're thinking.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right before you click checkout,
Right.
know that you have people in 30 countries, and this is only a domestic provider.
Right.
They didn't say that in their profile. What's that mean?
Right.
But that presupposes that there's an AI that knows a lot more about you than most do. So that's not today, right?
Well, and here's the good thing. Even if the people driving the HR tech stack know this stuff, whatever it is, when they leave, then what?
Right.
If the AI also knows it, at least there's that resource. I don't know anybody that calls somebody who used to work at the company when they're at a new job. It's pretty rare.
Mm-hmm.
And, can I spend another hour asking you questions? It's like, no,
Pretty
I've got a
much
new
have
job.
to figure
Leave me
it
alone.
out on your own. Then.
Yeah.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
luck with that. But ask your AI bot. It's all there. I made sure it was documented. And all of a sudden it's like, well, that's better than reading, RTFM. Remember those days?
Right.
No, God, I don't want to.
Yeah.
But you just went to SHRM, Ward. You just went to SHRM. And I imagine walking down that hallway or walking through that hallway for days because you couldn't get through it in one day. You might have seen, or did you see, any optimism about data exchange or integrations or, people playing better in the sandbox?
That's a good question. I think a number of the providers that historically weren't as concerned about integration. That was kind of a big lead for them, saying we're only pursuing specific markets, whatever, where we have integrated partners or something like that, right? And that's a good sign. There were not many. I mean, Term National I've been going for years, and a member, on and off over the years. But they're not really focused on the tech side as much as other conferences and other places. But the reality is that somebody again has to be watching the store, or it's not going to end well for the buyers. So there were some integration companies there, but I don't think any were exhibiting. Again, the reality is, should they have to decide on their own what service is going to integrate the solution? I sure hope not. So if they do, how would you? I mean, everybody's saying, "Oh, we can integrate to 100,000, whatever." And Zapier says the same thing, right? It's like, oh yeah, Zapier, it's practically free. It's like, good luck with that.
It's easy. Zapier makes it easy. I mean, and they were saying the same thing about MuleSoft too, right? MuleSoft could integrate from anywhere to anywhere, and you don't have to be a developer to do it. Well, you kind of do. You kind of need to know what you're doing in order to be able to get it done. And so I kind of believe it, and I also kind of don't believe it.
In agentic AI is going to change that dramatically. Thank goodness. Somebody can worry about the details that humans had to before. But, it's not going to be perfect. But if it's self-healing, it goes a long way. People quit. They don't self-heal.
It'll add to things, but it won't, be the be-all and end-all that everybody thinks it's going to be.
Not for a while anyway, for sure. I mean, I just, again, talking bits and bytes, moving data around.
Right.
As long as the rules are clear. I mean, I've gone in a Waymo a couple times, and they're coming to Philly now. I'm excited. But I prefer a driverless car at this point, and it's still early, over the typical, no offense, Uber or Lyft. But typical driver, My last driver,
a lot of early stage stuff that we're working with here, and so from a vendor to vendor perspective, being able to start to work together, and that's a big wall to break down. I think is kind of where we've ended up with this, and never an easy thing. Like you say, co-opetition, it's great in concept, and then putting it in practice is definitely difficult. But
the analogy I like to use is kind of like you want to go out to a nice dinner, and if the restaurant's good, they'll have a chef that looks at trying to create not just an experience but a culinary delight, and what foods go with which, pairing the wine, stuff like that. It's it's a thing. It's
Right.
real, and that's, you look at HR tech stack the same way. If you have like a I don't know, lamb or whatever the core food is, you kind of build on that, right? And you got
Right.
SAP or UKG or whatever. So there's ecosystems of partners, but then you have this kind of dish, right? Right, and that's
Right.
where I think the future is going to be, and agentic AI can help with that. Is okay, yeah, these customers, let's say 20 customers, have a very similar stack. They're almost all unique when you get down to the individuals, but the kind of core ingredients, do you want it salty or not? That's where there's
Right.
going to be more variations. But I think there's already a lot of collaboration in that area, and there's a huge hunger from the
Yeah.
vendor side, because buyers they want a solution. They want that. They look at the menu, they see a picture or whatever, and they're like, "That's what I want. Bring it
They-
out."
So
They see the marketing material that says we integrate with so and so and so and so, and when that integration is a little questionable.
Right, and that's why servers still exist, right? They're like, well, I
Right.
don't think you want that year of wine, or you don't want
So
that.
sort of that Switzerland of
Yeah.
systems, basically. It's sort of that neutral counterpart that tries
Mm.
to bond everybody together. So
Well,
Yeah,
that's
but
it.
but
Right.
unfortunately, what we get is more of the Burger King of, we'll make it kind of what you want, but it's still going to be a Burger King burger. So
yeah, exactly. They're
Well,
going to
and the
be a
big
burger.
consulting companies will say the same thing. Well, let's figure out what you want, and blue sky. $500 million later,
right,
or whatever the number
right.
is.
There's
Yeah.
an
Like,
expense tied to that. Yeah.
we're not there yet.
Yeah.
Just keep milking that cow.
Yeah.
Well,
And that's not right
it
either.
sounds, Ward, it does sound like you're hungry because you keep bringing up food and cows and other things. So, on the HR Data Labs brown bag lunch,
Yeah.
because this is a brown bag lunch, you should have brought your own. But we keep the 30 minutes. So it's been a pleasure having you. Thank you very much. And we should get you back on.
I'd like to. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been fun, and love your show. Keep up the good
Thank you.
work.
Dwight, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being with us, Ward. It's been great.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much, Ward. Take care, everybody, and stay safe. Oops.